Hi, it's Heather. Welcome to another episode of the Inspired Nomads. What happens when you leave stability to go travel the world? Well, for today's interview, I'm going to interview me. I thought it was about time to tell you my story. And I happen to be in Huacachina, Peru, in a desert oasis. So I couldn't think of a more perfect place to do this interview. These are the cars behind me you may hear periodically that take you to go sandboarding, which I tried, and it was not my cup of tea, but I did try it. A bit bumpy for me. And then here is the oasis. So among the desert right there, this whole area of water and little town. Though it is man-made, it is still very lovely, and the night photos are beautiful. So I'm going to tell you my story. So I left a stable job with AT&T, and one of the things I found interesting in our video series so far are the reasons people leave their jobs, because actually I liked my boss and I really liked my colleagues, and the work I felt didn't quite embellish who I am as a person. I speak 6 languages, I'm able to be really creative. There are just pieces of my skill set that I wasn't able to fit in there. But the reason that I left, so it wasn't because I hated it, it was because I just thought there must be more to life than sitting at a desk for roughly another 20 years and then enjoying my life. In other words, I felt like I was living this life that was sort of prescribed to me, that I'm supposed to work for, 50 years or so, and then I get to enjoy my life. And I'm under the impression that I will have a stable job, so actually I'll be able to keep a job that long, and also that I'll be able to make enough money to have money when I get wherever I'm going when I'm older, and that whatever the world is going to be stable and have some control set to it, so that the money that I have stacked away is actually reliable and will definitely be there and will be more money than I have now. So there's all these assumptions that I started realizing, may or may not turn out the way that I am planning them to. And then I started seeing, unfortunately, people that would work all that time and stack away the money and work really hard, only to pass away within a month of retirement, or maybe, getting sick and not being able to enjoy the life that they had saved up for and worked so hard for. And the other thing that pushed me over the edge was thinking about, one day I'm not going to be around, and when I think about how I want to be remembered, I wasn't living that life. And so I thought, if ever there's a time for me to create and live the life that I would be proud of, it's sort of now or never. And I say that lightly, but actually looking back at a journal that I found while I was packing up my stuff and putting it into storage, 18 years before I quit, I had written a journal entry, something to the extent of, what would my life be like if I quit my job and just did what I wanted to do, and I just traveled the world and met great people and made new friends? So it was just really touching to me to see that, 18 years later, that I was actually finally starting to live that life that I was wondering about all those years before. So that's the why that I left. And in terms of what I set out to do, so my goal in the journey was to follow my heart to my next opportunity. I felt like I was very much living a life where everything was from my head. It was a very logical life. Things made sense or they didn't, and I would follow the things that made sense and not follow the things that didn't. And then I think I spent a lot of time with a debate between my head and my heart. And I regretfully even got married to someone that I thought was a really good man, that I thought I should be with. But I see now that I just didn't feel, I wasn't following my heart to that relationship, and that was another Another thing that was really important to me is that I wanted my life to be heart-based instead of head-based. And I also know that had I waited until retirement to do this, I don't think I would have gone to the depths I've gone, because it takes a very long time to shed all the layers of teaching, training, and coaching that life gives us that sort of take us away from where we naturally would gravitate and go. And so, I found that first I had to release some of this conditioning and training. But then when you start living from your heart, if you haven't been doing that, well, it's different, right? So it takes a while to trust that. It takes a while to believe that. And a lot of times your heart wants things that just make no sense. And see, that's right. If you've lived a life where everything's supposed to make sense and your heart's pulling you in a different direction, it also takes a while to sort of go with that instead of resisting it. And it's something I'm still working on, but I'm so grateful that I have given myself the opportunity to be able to pursue that. And so I thought this journey was very much one about pursuing my heart to my next opportunity, which, by the way, will not be on one of those cars again going out to the sand dunes. I just want to repeat that. It was a very bumpy ride, and it was just not for me. It's not fun. But anyway, I realize now that while I have gotten in touch with some pieces, some things that I want to do, actually I've also been writing my blog for a year and a half pretty regularly. Every few days I publish a post for a year and a half. I've been taking lots and lots of photos. I actually have written some travel guides, and I've put together some pieces of a program that I may run. So things are coming together on that front, except that I realized recently, actually partly because of a great talk I had with Nadine Hayes-Pisani in one of my other interviews, that the purpose of my journey in following my heart may not be just about the work, actually. I think it's about the person, right? So I'm following my heart to love. And I've recently woken up to that. So I've started writing my love stories, and that may be something that I share with you in a book, or I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, I've started to write them, and we'll see where that leads. And so that was very unexpected. I really thought, to be honest, that I would go travel for 3 to 6 months, figure out my life, and then go back to this real life thing that I'm supposed to do. And instead I found that a year and a half later, I'm still at it. And sure, sometimes the way can be lonely, and sometimes not. Sometimes it's full of friends and wonderful people that I meet. The discoveries, one of the neat things that when you travel extensively is you really get in touch with not just your own personal training and stereotypes, but when I've gone into so many places with such fear because I've been conditioned, Colombia is supposed to be drug dealers and lots of guns. And you know what? Colombia was amazing. It was full of wonderful people. The scenery is fabulous. The food is great. The coffee, oh my God, the coffee alone should make you go to Colombia. And anything but that experience. And I have pictures with the police officers. They do have big guns, but they were very, very nice. And Buenos Aires, I was told, be very, very careful, keep your bag in front of you, and never take your cell phone out on the street because, somebody's going to ride along and snatch it out of your hand. And I actually felt more like a tourist because I didn't have my cell phone out, because everybody else did. They were just walking along like in New York or any other big city. So I think a lot of traveling is also about understanding what your point of view is. And in a way, it's like life, right? Figuring out what your point of view is that may be very different than the perceptions that other people have. And I think a lot of the time we deal with third-party perceptions, even about your own life, right? Because nobody knows your own life as well as you do. And your friends and family that love you can give you amazing, heartfelt guidance, but at the end of the day, it's still like a third party looking in at your life, trying to tell you what the best life would be for you, and only you can figure that out. And so I would greatly encourage you, if you are someone that is watching this video series because you think maybe you want to go on this journey, right? that you strongly consider this as a means to get more in touch with yourself. One of the things that's really hard, especially if you're solo traveling, and honestly probably for even traveling with a friend, is I call it you're going to meet yourself along the journey a lot. And I've written several blog posts about, you know, the issues that I've encountered in myself. In fact, honestly, because of the sandboarding and this driving, I think I'm getting in touch with some control issues that I have, right? Wanting to be deeply in control of which way the car goes and, you know, which way the sandboard goes. And God forbid that I might roll a little to the right or the left, you know, I'm in a panic. So it's really interesting how the journey becomes a bit of a microcosm for your own experience and your own self, and reflecting on who you are, how you are, why you are, and kind of getting to check in with, is that who you want to be, and are you proud of that? And if not, well, what can you do differently? So that there's just so much opportunity for personal growth in this kind of travel that happens much more quickly and much more intensely than it would if you just go about living, you know, the normal prescribed life. So that's, I think, part of what makes it something that, you know, I think people have said that I'm really brave to do what I'm doing, and I know that other people I've talked to doing the same journey have also been told they're brave. And I think that's one of the reasons, right, that the bravery comes in, because it's not always easy to see parts of yourself that maybe are not the way that you are most proud of, or that you have to acknowledge, oh, there's another piece of myself that, you know, that I need to work on. So bravo to all of you out there also that are doing this journey and taking those brave steps and learning more about yourself. And there goes another of those cars. Wow, they are loud. Sorry about that. And so also in terms of money, right? One of the, I think, big concerns that I've certainly had coming on this journey was, you know, how am I going to afford this? And how am I going to make money? And this is another really neat thing about also some of the interviews that I've had with people, that we've all gotten to see that money, it's a really neat experience when you let go of making money for a paycheck or making money for benefits, and you start plugging into, well, what could life be like if I might make money actually for fulfillment? So it's a whole different ballpark. And you've heard us talk before in other interviews about, you know, we've had to give up a lot to be able to go on this journey. So my life certainly is not what it was in New York. I'm living in cheap hostels, and I'm wearing the same clothes pretty much every week, and rotating and laundry, and I'm not eating lots of gourmet meals. So, you know, life is certainly quite different. But when I look at the life that I'm able to create and perpetuate, that's just amazing to me. And so one surprising thing is, in terms of any concerns about, you know, how would you afford a life like this? Well, especially if you are from a Western country like the United States or Europe, your money is going to go really far, especially in places like South America and Southeast Asia. So it's just amazing to me how, I set a budget, and then I actually have been able to undercut it by so much that it just allows me to keep traveling longer. So that's one thing. The other thing that happens, and again, this is another thing, a neat epiphany that has come out of also the video series, is you'll come up with these weird and random ways to make money that you won't, there's just no way when you go into it, like, you have a very keen awareness of work that you can do. You know your skill set, you know the work that's available to you, you've maybe gone through help wanted ads, so you are very aware of what you are able to do and of the jobs that are available to you, except you're not, because when you travel, well, hey, you might be able to drive one of those random cars, and you might be a tour guide. You might be, I was told that I might be able to get work in another country in a tourist agency because I speak French, right? And that would be really useful in some countries. So Also I'm someone that I just naturally just like people and connect with them. And in stores, sometimes when people are buying things, I naturally will tell people if something looks pretty, or, get this one, not that one. And many times a shop owner has asked me to work for them. So, aside from obviously there may be, work paper issues and you'll have to work through those. But the point is that there's always a weird way to make money when you need to do that. So I think it's something that I've learned to trust. And even if it's not permanent, I think also if you're quitting or leaving stable income, there's also this leaving of stability, this working every day, getting paid for every day. Also, you might gravitate to something where you work some days and you get paid for some days. And if you combine that with a budget, it just sort of all flows together, and you kind of realize that money's going to go out and money's going to come back in. And somehow it just all plays together. And it's something that I think you do have to trust. So again, if you're watching this video series as someone that's not quite sure that you're ready to go and leave the stability and go off into the unknown, there is a certain degree of trust involved that things will work out, and you need to have that. And one of the things that's inspired me is, if you've watched the video series so far, are somebody like Nadine Hayes-Pisani who left stability with no plan and is now has written about her experience and has been able to create a way for her. She's writing books and making money that way. You heard from Catherine, who's in her 60s and went off and left behind her work, came back and got a job in her 60s, right? And she's, if you listen to her, I mean, of course you'd want to hire her, right? It's just like, it doesn't matter that how old she is. She just really has so much passion left in her and so much desire to be of service to others. So I'm certainly loving that the different ways and the different ages that people are able to get classical work, or even, you heard also from, you heard another interview where the work was around, I think, English teaching, right? So teaching English from in another country over the web. And that's another thing, is I think there's a lot of work now available to us over the internet, and you can work remotely. So that's another, if you aren't comfortable with just leaving the stability and completely, you can create work before you go that you take on the road with you. And we've heard from photographers, there's also life coaching, there is graphic design, there's a lot of different ways that you can take what you do and commute with it. So I just wanted to share that as well. So all in all, I think hopefully you've gotten that there's a lot of tips there for any of you that might be thinking about taking this journey. I think I certainly feel like one thing that I can be proud of is that no matter what happens, I know that I don't have to get old and wonder what my life would have been like if I had taken this journey, and have a sense of regret that I didn't. I get to know that I tried, that I jumped into my life. If you go to my cool people page, wow, I've met so many amazingly cool people from all different backgrounds. And so even when at times the journey gets lonely, there's something like, I took the Peru Hop bus here in Peru, and I made friends with like a busload of people, literally. The guide is amazing, the people are amazing. So I'm so grateful that even among the solitude come great people to keep me company, and that are out there in the world that I stay in touch with. So that's another thing. I think if you are alone, you've also heard in another interview that I think that you will naturally talk to more people because you are alone, right? And so when someone invites me to sit at their table, I always say yes, because, well, hey, why not? It's a chance to meet great new people, share great conversation. So yeah, I just highly recommend, if you're someone that is mid-career. You know, this is not something that just millennials do. You don't have to be in your 20s. There's a lot of people out there that are also doing this, that are also wanting to live, that are also wanting to see the world with their own eyes. And by doing that, they also get to see themselves and powerfully self-reflect. So I highly recommend this journey, and I hope that you are feeling a little more inspired to take your own. And even if that might not be actually about traveling the world, it might be something else. It might be leaving stability for yourself in another way, for creating your own life's work or life's purpose, whatever that is. So I also, as you know, I would love to hear your stories. I have been so inspired by all of the stories that have been shared with us so far. And if you are someone that would like to share your story, you are mid-career, you are you've been out on the road for at least 3 months, ideally 6 months or more, I would just love to hear from you. You can apply to be on the show at www.interviewquestionnaire.com. You can also feel free to email me at heather@heathermarkel.com, and I will arrange a time and have you on the show. And also, for those of you listening, if you have questions, if you would like to see me ask guests any specific questions in future, please also send me that email and let me know. Until the next show, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.